You know that feeling when you tell yourself, just one more video, and suddenly it's midnight? Yeah, me too. I get home after a long day, finally plop down on the couch, and mindlessly scroll social media. And sure, it feels nice to zone out for a bit. But there's this small sense of doom, the sense of urgency in the back of my head, telling me to finish some homework or get some type of work done. But then, one of those oddly satisfying ASMR slime videos show up on my feed, and that little voice just fades in the background. Because who cares? I know 3 hours have passed, but I have time to watch one more video. Surely, there's still time to finish all my work. As more time passes, that little voice in the back of my head becomes more urgent and persistent. And finally, panic sets and I snap out of my scrolling trance to get some work done. Only to realize that there was actually a lot more work than I had anticipated. Like, way more. And now, I don't have time to finish anything. Disappointed and exhausted, I go to bed late and promise myself that tomorrow I will not open social media unless I have finished all of my work. And tomorrow comes, and I find myself thinking, well, just one video. No harm in that. And one video turns into 2, and then into 5, and then I just don't bother to stop. Day after day, all of my work starts piling up more and more until I am absolutely buried under all the work that it's just basically impossible to recover now. So I spend my time on social media anyway. What I just described to you is what I like to call the vicious cycle of social media. The cycle consists of 3 main stages. In the first stage, you innocently open social media and find yourself doom scrolling later on. In the second stage, you feel negatively about yourself for wasting time that otherwise could have been used for something more productive. I mean, let's be real, all of you at one point have done the same thing that I used to do. If you come here and you tell me that you have never opened Reels or TikTok to take a 5-minute break between study sessions, only to end up scrolling for an eternity like I did, then you're just lying. The only people who have never been in this situation are dead. They are long gone. And finally, in the third stage, you use social media to cope with the negative feelings you felt after using social media. But wait, in the second stage, how does social media make you feel awful so that you use it again? That is done in 2 ways. Firstly, social media can leave you feeling disappointed and ashamed simply because you spent so much time scrolling, you no longer have time to do any of the tasks you had planned for the day. Over time, this constant distraction becomes a major obstacle, stopping you from achieving your goals. Think about it. Remember that time you decided you wanted to be productive the next day and planned all that you were going to do? You were going to wake up early, work out, shower, have a healthy breakfast, and start your day on the right foot. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I strongly believe that when you woke up, you got a notification, you opened social media, and all of your productive plans went down the drain. The second way that social media can leave you feeling dissatisfied and unfulfilled is through a process in the brain known as the opponent process mechanism. This mechanism works by balancing every emotional experience you have with an opposite reaction. Imagine your brain as a scale. When you experience positive emotions like joy or satisfaction while using social media, the scale tips in the positive direction. But ideally, your brain strives to be neutral, not tipped in the positive direction, nor in the negative. So, how can your brain counteract this positive feeling so that it becomes neutral again? It can counteract positive feelings with negative feelings. So, what happens is that you feel negative emotions like disappointment after using social media, simply because your brain is trying to maintain a neutral position. And I have experienced firsthand the effects of this mechanism when I procrastinated. There was this one time I had to do a task I really didn't want to do. So, instead of getting to work, I started playing video games. And even though I felt happy and at ease at the time, when I finally closed the game, I felt 10 times worse than I did initially. I think this showcases really well how our brains try to keep a balance between positive emotions and negative ones. So, what we can conclude here is that you feel negatively about yourself after using social media, not only because you have failed to achieve your goals and aspirations, but also because of the opponent process mechanism in the brain. And what do you do when you feel an uncomfortable feeling like shame? You distract yourself using social media. This is how social media traps people into a vicious cycle of disappointment, dissatisfaction, unfulfillment, and unproductivity. This cycle creates in you an anxiety that just keeps humming in the background. Now that we have identified how social media traps people into a vicious cycle, let's discuss how you and I can break out of this endless loop. First and foremost, it is important we become self-aware. Today more than ever, it is of utmost importance that you look up from your phone where countless strangers show off their various life accomplishments and look up long enough to start building your own life. I remember watching so many videos of people showing off how successful they are, how much they were able to complete, despite so many challenges and obstacles in their way. I was so invested in learning how to do that and planning the perfect way to achieve my goal that I never got to a point where I actually started working towards my goal. I just watched videos about it. Additionally, the best way to beat the double-edged sword of social media is to be intentional with each action you take. And I've got some good news for you. You can use the opponent process mechanism to your advantage. Remember how I said that your brain is like a scale that tries to keep a balance between positive and negative emotions? Well, the same process takes place whenever you undergo an uncomfortable experience. Let's say, for example, you decided you wanted to achieve a certain goal of yours. And in order to do so, you needed to get out of your comfort zone. Or, in other words, you had to do uncomfortable actions that required quite a bit of effort and commitment. Since you have gone through an uncomfortable experience, the scales have been tipped in the negative direction. And your brain, who wants to be neutral, counteracts these negative feelings with positive ones. This is why you feel pleasure and euphoria after achieving your goals, even though the journey to these accomplishments was not really the most pleasant. So, what we can conclude here is that sometimes things like social media that make us feel great at first turn out to be awful for us in the long term, while things like working towards a goal that make us feel uncomfortable at first turn out to be beneficial for us in the long term. So, instead of running away from any type of discomfort, we should try to seek the discomfort that helps us grow and achieve our goals. A prime example of that for me is exercise. Although it is uncomfortable and requires quite a bit of effort and commitment, it helps you and I grow into better, healthier versions of ourselves. And I also believe we should be present and active in the building of our lives, even during the challenging bits. Or, in other words, we should be present in our lives today to be the presence for our future selves. And remember, dare to have grand ambitions and dare to beat obstacles to get there. Instead of being so distracted, you miss the opportunity to do that in the first place. As a matter of fact, I did just that when I applied to be a TEDx speaker. This time, instead of running away from my discomfort and playing video games, I faced my discomfort head-on and applied to be a speaker anyway. Nelson Mandela has a great quote about this, actually, and he wisely says, "It always seems impossible until it's done." Ultimately, my hope is that you will leave this place today wise enough to break out of the vicious cycle of social media, brave enough to aim for the stars, and determined enough to face any challenges that get in your way. But to do all of that, are you willing to sacrifice instant satisfaction for long-term fulfillment? Thank you.